Okay, and here we are. Welcome to the comparative world religions. Some different pictures, symbols of different religions in the world that we're going to study. And in this picture, there are a couple of them I'm not familiar with. This one and this one, of course, is just a question mark. I'm familiar with it. It just doesn't represent anything. There may be other symbols. If you know what this one is, let me know. Anyway, we're going to look at all of these and I'll let you catch on to them as we go rather than spending time today. There are different amounts of people that study and believe and take in different religions. As we see here, Christians make up about a third of the entire world population. Muslims are catching up at 21% or so. Hindus, there's about 13%. Buddhists are half of that. And other religious groups of all kinds, including Judaism, and the ones we'll be talking in the non-religious group. Just so you can see the chart of the different amounts of people prescribing or associating themselves with one of these religious groups. Here is just another slide doing the same thing, different kind of breakdown, helping you understand what they are representing. Here is a breakdown as you see in the countries of the world, the green representing the different Islamic groups in the Middle East here, and in the Northern Africa, and in this area of the world on all these islands. And then Buddhism, very strong, Hinduism here, and then different forms of Christianity across the way. All right. I want you to kind of get a grasp of the maps of the world. This is the Middle East. This is Turkey here, Saudi Arabia, Egypt. This is Iraq and Iran. Here's India, we'll see on another slide, and China. This area right here is where all of this area is where all the religions really did begin. And we're going to take a look at that. I think it's important to know what we're talking about as far as placing these religions in the area of the world in which they developed and they are still practiced today. A more specific picture of the Middle East. Some will include Egypt right here with that. Here is Kuwait. It's right here in this armpit, if you will. Saudi Arabia, there's Mecca and Medina. Jerusalem is about right here. And then Damascus is about right there. Anyway, these are the different religions in the middle, or not religions, this is a map of the Middle East. And with it, the map of the Far East, another religion group is here from the Japanese islands. And so here we see the combination of these religions. We're going to look at this in this class. The Western religions are in the western area of this map for sure, even though we may not think of the Middle East as the West, but that's where they were in relationship to China, I guess. They're certainly Western. And all three of the Western religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, developed in that order and in these places. And here, these different religions are from those different places as well. India has the Om symbol. Then there's Taoism above it. China has Confucianism, the symbol for that. And over by Japan, you have the Torii gate symbol for the 7 Eastern religions are in China and India, basically, including Japan. In this slide, I want to make sure we understand the difference between denominations and religions. So religions are the ones I have mentioned so far, and there are more than just what we have in the book. And as far as the main ones that we're going to study, these are they for sure. But each one is broken down with several different subgroups of those religions called sects, or sects, or denominations. And we need to see these. So in this particular picture, I want to point out that these five here, Methodist, Baptist, Catholic, First Christian, Episcopalian, I would include Eastern Orthodox, Greek Orthodox, Russian Orthodox, are different religions, or not different religions, rather. They make up one religion, a branch of a particular religion, Christianity. These groups are all denominations of these possible groups here. Just the first five up here are from Christianity. The next ones on this list come from Hinduism, and it's in Shaivism, Smartism, Vaishnavism, Shaktism, and those from here on through here are all part of Hinduism. Then the last four actually are just split from Judaism. So in the very top here, Judaism has several and more than this. But these are denominations. And I don't know how to better put it except for that they're just a subgroup of the main religious group. So make sure we understand that clearly, and we'll go on. So in our course of study, we're going to do some themes and some papers. And I would like for you to pick a theme for that paper about maybe medical practices, marriage or death rituals for that religion. So the paper for Judaism, and I think you have 5 papers to do. You'll want to pick one of these themes and do that same theme for each religion and get an idea of how different they are, how similar they are, what the uniqueness is about them. And you may want to go about rituals with water or special days. If you want something besides this group, please let me know. You might really have a fascination with a doctrinal study and would like to go with that, or something else that I'm not knowledgeable of in your life. So when you pick this theme, then for each paper over the different religions, you're going to focus on that. So when we do the articles, you will also, I would suggest, pick an article along those lines, and that'll help you in the research, and kind of that way you're not having to do extra stuff. Now, Judaism, we're going to start with this. I know it's in the middle of the book. I'm going to start with it because it's more familiar. Judaism is one that's familiar to us in a sense of Judeo-Christian backgrounds that we live in America. We may not believe in them. We may not accept them on a personal level, but they are around us. And so what I want to point out here are a couple things on this. We have some menorahs. These are 9 candle menorahs. Then you've got a 7 one here. And the difference is the 9 candle ones are about Hanukkah. And this one is more about a traditional ancient Judaism group. The flag in the middle is just Israel flag. This is the Star of David in the flag, and then the 10 Commandments. But I want to show that this seal, this is a patch that they'll wear on the military, but is the seal of Israel. And this seal is represented by this. This is a picture of an etching on the side of the Arch of Titus that's just outside of Rome. In 70 AD, when Jerusalem was razed and totally destroyed, and the temple was taken apart piece by piece, and they took this particular candlestick out of the temple and hauled it off, made of gold, pure gold, in and out. They hauled it off to Rome. And this is an etching on the Arch of Titus. And this is where the ancient temple would have used that particular candle in the holy place, and it is now a symbol, part of the emblem of Israel. Judaism is the oldest of the three monotheistic religions. It's also the smallest, and there's only about 15 million followers or 15 million Jews. Not all of them are true followers of Judaism, so that's always a question. What's a Jew anyway? But this is what's really amazing, is that since they've been given a Nobel Prize, peace prizes and stuff, Nobel Prizes have awarded 22% of their recipients have been Jews. And Jews only make up less than 1/2 of 1%, 0.2% of the entire world's population. Way out of proportion. Jews have had a big influence on the world over the years, and they've taken a lot of heat and a lot of haters in that direction for some reason or another. I'm not going to talk about that so much, as I just want to point out Judaism, while it is a very small portion of religions in the world, it's made a big impact, and we're going to study it, and it'll be the first of our studies. Jews live all around the world. Here's Israel, just a tiny little spot right there. You can't even see it on that map. Yet the rest of the world, and they make a pretty big part of our news media and publications about Jews, what's going on in Jerusalem, Israelis doing this or that. Population-wise, the Jews, about half of them live in Israel, the other half live in the rest of the world, and most of those live in America. Almost half of them live in the United States. Just think it's interesting. So we have 6 different parts to Judaism. These aren't exact. People are going to look at, I really see Jews in the sense that they're making it a way of life. They're just making their religious practice their life. And truly, I've been there, and they truly do. Important factors are on this page. The Holy Book, the Tanakh. God is very important. Worship and ritual. They certainly have some key beliefs. We'll focus on some of them and the different groups, different denominations within Judaism. There are 3 periods of Jewish history that we're just going to briefly state. The biblical period is the one I'm most studied in. From the Jewish perspective, is 1948 AM. That is Anno Mundi, the year of creation. Many Jews will say that Abraham was born in 1948. That's their dating way, is timing for creation up to now. We are in June of 2017. We're in their year 5777. Until Rosh Hashanah in the middle of September, it'll be turning 5778. Their calendar is very different as far as the way the days work and years work. At any rate, biblical Judaism practice, from Abraham to the time of the destruction of the temple, was actually in 70 AD. And then rabbinical Judaism from that time to 1800s, and the mid 1800s or early there to the present is called Reform. So the difference between biblical Judaism and rabbinical Judaism is vast. The main and the most significant difference is rabbinical Judaism does not have a temple. They don't have a place to do sacrifices. They don't use a tabernacle as Moses did in the day, and David. Um, they do without the sacrifices. So they had to come up and devise different ways to practice their ritual and their ceremonial things without sacrifices. But some other significant differences is the synagogue, the priests or the leaders of their groups, and their text. Biblical Judaism used the Hebrew Bible, the Tanakh, only. And now Rabbinical Judaism has kind of formulated some more scriptures called the Talmud. The Talmud. You have hopefully listened to a video or two about that. But going on, we'll see some more about the differences. Who is a Jew? Is it about a religion or a genealogy, a practice, ideology? Who are the Jews? Are they ethnic or are they political, personal or religious? That's a question. A lot of people, I don't have a specific answer, but we're going to look at the religious aspect as a Jew, and I am not a Jew, but the religious aspect of Judaism. But this is a question many people have. Who is a Jew? Modern Israel is very small. It's a small state. This is Israel. Egypt, you see, this is Jordan right here. This is Iraq, Saudi Arabia below here, Turkey up here. See Italy. So, very small part of Italy. About 10,000 and a half square miles. Size of 1/3 of our state of Maine. Actually, if we exclude the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, Israel is only 10,000 square miles. The West Bank is a pretty large area right here. It's from the Jordan River to the west. This is what they call Palestine. You'll hear that in the news. The Golan Heights and the Gaza Strip is a pretty strict Palestinian area. Jews are not allowed to go into these places. I will say it again. Jews are not allowed to go into the West Bank or the Gaza Strip. So if you're born in Israel as a Jew, you don't go to those places. And if you're born in the West Bank, actually as a Palestinian, you may never be allowed to even go out of that area. At any rate, it's a pretty small area, about the size of our state of New Jersey, which is pretty small. Very insignificant in size, but hugely important in our political and the world scope of what's going on even today. As I mentioned earlier, Abraham, born about 1948. That is AM, after creation. The state of Israel was created in 1948, now using a different calendar though, a different way of dating 1948, what we call the Gregorian calendar. But at any rate, going on. Slide. It'll be just like this particular slide. They won't write the word God out. Hashem means hush. Don't say it. Tetragrammaton is the 4-letter name description. This is Tetragrammaton comes from the Greek, but it's the 4-letter name of God. And God's name is Yahweh. From Exodus chapter 3, God introduces himself to Moses at a burning bush and says, I am. This is where the word comes from the word of create, to be, sort of thing. The Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. So it reads from right to left, Yahweh. And then so in English, those down here, we have the words in the English order reading from left to right. narrate. That's the tetragrammaton. That's the name which you do not speak. The name that you do not speak comes from the third commandment in Exodus chapter 20. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. So the Jews are so keen on this, they won't even use his name, and they won't write his name, and they won't say his name. So actually, instead of Yahweh, many of them will say Hashem, the name you don't say. Um, Others will sometimes say Adonai. They're okay. That's means master. But that's where it comes from. Exodus chapter 20, the third commandment. So what's in a name? Here we have several different words that are translated in the Hebrew Bible in English. Every time you come across this word where capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D, it is the Hebrew Yahweh. And these are cursive letters, so they're a little bit different than ones you saw earlier. But this is used 6,500 times in the Hebrew Bible. Lord, Yahweh. This is his name he told Moses to use. And then there's the Lord. It's you can see it's very different. Adonai, and this Lord is like master. He's the king or the master of the house, the Lord of the house, Lord of the manor. Then going on, you have another Sabaoth, the Almighty, and sometimes these are kind of mixed and matched. Like it might have Yahweh Sabaoth, so it might be mighty Lord or mighty God or Almighty and that sort of thing. And then God is often used here. It's El, like here, El. It's a small God, meaning like Baal. And then here's Elohim. Him, anything ending in an im in Hebrew is usually plural. And even the Hebrews recognize that God is massive. He's huge. He seems to be more than one to them. But Elohim is who created, the creator God. It's not, he uses Lord in that too, but just to point out, God is translated from Elohim, and Lord is translated from Yahweh. And there's more to that, but that's just so that you know. The Torah, the Jewish Bible, is very important for them. The Tanakh, I should say, and quit saying Torah, I should say the Tanakh. It's made up of the Torah, the first 5 books of the law, and then the next books of the prophets, and the last set of books called the writings, the Ketuvim, the Nevi'im, and the Ketuvim. So you have Tanakh, the Tanakh. Now they contain different books, as if you have seen a Christian Bible with the New Testament, the Old Testament part, the Bible books are in a different order. They contain, as far as the prophets and writings are different, but they are the same books. They're just combined and mixed and matched in a different way. The Jewish Bible, the Tanakh. They use the Jewish Bible for reading, for studying, for applying to their daily life. And the Torah contains in it the mitzvahs, the laws, and there are 613 laws of their Bible, 613 of them. And this young man just graduated from his bar mitzvah, and so he is the bar son of the mitzvah law, the bar mitzvah. Now there are bat mitzvahs as well, so girls can graduate from the law and go through their bat mitzvah. But so the law part, though, is just talking about the Pentateuch. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Those are the first 5 books. The Tanakh is speaking of the whole, the Hebrew Bible. And so here is another description and a visual aid to help you see the differences of the Tanakh, the Nevi'im, and the Ketuvim. And finally, we have Israel. Israel is the name given to the father of the 12 tribes, which his name was Jacob. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Abraham being the father. He had Isaac. He also had Ishmael. He had Zimran, Jokshan, Ishbak, and Shua, and Medan, and Midian. But from a second wife, her name was, probably most of you don't know her name, was Keturah from Genesis 25. That's Abraham. Abraham then had 8 sons. Isaac, though, had twins, Jacob and Esau, Esau and Jacob. Jacob became prominent, and then Jacob later had 12 sons. So Jacob is the father of the Israelites, and so is Abraham, really. But this is significant. When we start looking at other religions in the area, we have a religion that is getting a lot of news today called Islam. Islam recognizes Ishmael as their father, but all of them recognize Abraham as their father, so they see that they are brothers. But Ishmael is the true father of Islam. Jacob, though, had his name changed. And according to these two passages in the Hebrew Bible in chapter 32 and 35, we find that he struggled with man and God and overcame. There's a story here of Jacob wrestling with God, and God touched his hip. So the Jews don't eat the hip bone area, the meat from the hip, and he changed his name because of the struggle. That's what Israel means, struggle with God. The most prominent men in the Jewish ancient history were Abraham, Moses, and David. I think the most significant is David. His star is prominent everywhere. The second most prominent is Moses, the giver, the lawgiver. Technically, God was the lawgiver, but Moses, it was through Moses that the law came. And then Abraham certainly started it all. God saw him as a man who believed in him, had faith. So anyway, this is the beginning of biblical Judaism, and Judaism, even as we see it today, are founded on these ideas that we've just looked at in this video.